This is the Ricoh GRIIX, and whilst it might not look like much, this might actually be the best APS-C compact camera that you can buy. And believe me, that's not me just making some clickbait statement. I've had this camera in my hands for a little over a month now, and I've taken it just about everywhere I can with me, and spoiler alert, I f***ing love it.
Watch your profanity.
Which, to be honest, is not something I ever thought I'd be saying, because this is a camera that never really appealed to me. I mean, spec-wise, it's always sounded pretty great, but aesthetically, it can only be described as, well, beige. Not in color, but more vibe. It's like a damp Rivita with a sensor inside. To put it another way, if this camera was a person, it'd be the equivalent of James Blunt singing Coldplay covers. Okay, maybe that's a little bit harsh, but I'll tell you one thing. Whilst I've been busy getting off to much sexier looking cameras like the Fujifilm X100VI, this Ricoh GR has been sat patiently in the corner, quietly waiting to ruin my wallet and turn all my prejudice upside down in the best possible way. So, why do I and loads of other photographers love this camera so much? Well, let's start with the obvious. This thing's absolutely tiny.
That's what she said.
Because this thing is able to curl up right next to my smartphone inside my jeans pocket on a daily basis without causing people on the street to immediately call the police, if you catch my drift. And when you consider that this has a large APS-C size sensor that's around 5 times bigger than that of the one found in the latest iPhone, not only are you getting portability, but you're also getting serious imaging power too. But of course, we'll talk more about image quality a bit later on, because for now I need to cream over the handling, which I personally think this camera balances just right. You see, the main issue when it comes to compacts like this is that the handling is often severely compromised. With less space for buttons, dials, and a decent sized grip, if you happen to have larger hands like I do, then this can mean that the shooting experience is similar to handling a bar of soap. And we all know what happens when you drop the soap.
Don't do it, I'm a virgin.
Whilst this camera design isn't 100% flawless, it still does manage to strike a very reasonable balance. You still get 2 command dials, one on the front and one around the back on the D-pad, and sure, whilst this flimsy D-pad one appears to have been made with the leftover plastic from a Ken doll's circumcision, it's still better than nothing. Now on the top here, there is a proper hot shoe port and a mode dial, though no flash. Luckily though, these days that's not so much of a problem, because you can always pick up a tiny flash unit like this one from Zenico, which literally cost like $30, and I can promise you it's awesome. It's super bright, portable, and rechargeable via USB-C. I'll be sure to leave a link in a pinned comment below as to where you can pick one of those up for yourself if you are interested. Now, unfortunately, it seems there wasn't room for a proper exposure compensation dial either, though thankfully they did add this little rocker switch on the back here, and by default, that operates as a means of changing the exposure comp, which works well enough. Now, let's talk about build and how this thing actually feels in the hand, because this is an area where I do have something to moan about. The build quality, while solid enough, isn't really what I would class as luxurious. Unlike other premium compacts like this, most of which I've tested on this channel already, this thing, to me at least, feels durable but certainly not fancy. And for a camera that's not exactly cheap, just like myself, I wish it just had a little bit more sex appeal. But if you can look past all of that, the handling is otherwise pretty solid. The grip on the front here isn't massive, but it still gives plenty to hold on to, even for larger hands.
That's what she said.
The menu system is clean and easy to navigate. The buttons are all well placed and easy to find, and even the touchscreen is responsive, bright, and crisp. Overall, it's a simple camera that does exactly what it needs to do without any fuss, which I really admire. My only slight gripe is that I do kinda wish that this was a flip out screen, as it'd make it a lot easier to shoot from higher and lower angles, but because the screen is a fairly decent size, I can't say that I ever struggled to get the shots I wanted. In terms of performance, it's surprisingly snappy too. Pun intended.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The first thing that stood out to me when I was using this camera was the boot up speed, because this thing turns on and is ready to shoot in literally 1 second, which means you can whip it out and get to business right away. Insert your own penis joke here. The autofocus is plenty quick enough for most types of candid shooting like street and travel work, and overall the thing just works, and crucially, it doesn't get in your way. I should also mention that this has in-body image stabilization too. It's rated for around 4 stops, and whilst that's not gimbal smooth or gonna let you shoot handheld nightscapes with a 1-second exposure, it's absolutely gonna make a difference. In real world use, I've comfortably handheld shots at 1/15th or 1/10th of a second with sharp results, provided of course that your subject isn't moving around too much. Now combine that with the fixed 40mm f2.8 lens and you've suddenly got a sneaky little night shooter that doesn't need a tripod, a prayer or a 6-figure ISO. And then there's a built-in ND filter, which honestly is probably one of my favorite features on this camera. With just the press of a button, you get 2 stops of light reduction baked in. That means that if you want to shoot wide open in harsh daylight, for example, or play around with slow shutter street photography, then you can do all of that on the fly without having to carry around a bag of filters. That makes it perfect for street, perfect for travel, and perfect for looking like you know what you're doing even if you absolutely don't, which to be honest is me 90% of my life. Oh, and on a side note, if you are into shooting with more of a film-like vibe, then you might also want to check out this camera's sibling, the recently released GRIIX HDF model. Now that one's basically the same as this one, but replaces the ND filter with a built-in highlight diffusion filter, which basically gives your shots a softer, more glowy look straight out of the camera. Think poor man's Cinebloom, but built in. But just to reiterate, this replaces the ND filter, so you can't have both of these effects in the same camera, unfortunately. So personally, I would much rather keep the ND version, as I just think it has more creative potential, but you know, each to their own. Now, staying on the topic of powerful tools, if you happen to be a professional creative running your own business, or even if you're just pretending to, like I am most of the time, then you've probably realized already that to be successful in this game, you also have to be a marketer, a copywriter, a data analyst, a social media manager, and a part-time therapist to all of your clients. Well, this is where today's sponsor, Brevo, can really help out. Brevo gives you email and SMS marketing, automations, and even WhatsApp and live chat tools, all in one place. Personally, what I love most about it is how simple it is to use, because I am not a marketer by trade. I'm just a guy who yells about old cameras and tries to sell a few Lightroom presets on the side to feed my family. But Brevo makes it super easy to build out proper email sequences that don't look like they were made in Microsoft Word 97. So if you want to grow your business and build better relationships with your clients or customers, there's never been a better time to give Brevo a go, because right now you can get 50% off your first 3 months on their starter or standard plans. All you need to do is use the link in the pinned comment below and use the code TomCalton at the checkout. Anyway, let's get on to the good stuff now and talk about image quality, starting with the lens. Now, as you may or may not know, there are actually 2 versions of this camera to pick from. There's the original GR3 and then this GR3X version. What's the difference? Well, really only one thing. The lens. The original GR3 comes with an 18.3mm f2.8 lens, which provides a 28mm equivalent field of view in full frame terms. This X variant comes with a slightly longer 26.1mm f2.8 lens, which translates into a 40mm field of view, and seeing that I mostly like to shoot somewhere around the 35 to 50mm range, this lands right in my sweet spot.
That's what she said.
Plus, this lens is really impressive. It's got lovely contrast, natural rendering, and is tack sharp even when shooting wide open. Pair that with Ricoh's 24MP APS-C sensor and you're getting results that easily rival bigger cameras, just in a much smaller body. The dynamic range is pretty strong, the high ISO performance is pretty solid so long as you don't push it too hard, and the RAW files give you just the right amount of flexibility. Now, all of that said, the main problem is that shooting with RAW with this camera can be a bit of a bottleneck for some people at least, because a camera like this just encourages you to shoot a lot. And if you happen to be someone who always seems to end up sitting on 300 plus RAW files after a day of shooting with no clue what to do with them next, it can all feel a little bit overwhelming. Well, the good news is that that's exactly why I developed my own library of custom presets, designed to try and help out others shortcut a lot of the time-consuming bullshit that comes with editing while still making your photos look fit for the gram. There's a whole selection of strong, bold color treatments, refined black and white finishes, and soft cinematic vibes, all designed to look good straight out of the box and even better with just 30 seconds of tweaking if you want to personalize them to your own taste. They're compatible with Lightroom, Photoshop, and most other image editing software packages, and you can even use them as LUTs for your video work too, all for no additional cost. They're all available to purchase now on my website, and if you want 20% off, just use the link and the discount code in the pinned comment below. Stop wasting time scrolling on Lightroom like it's Grindr, load up a preset and hit export, then you can go out and shoot some more. Hopefully you'll thank me later. Anyway, if editing RAW files just isn't your thing at all, then the good news is that this camera also comes with a range of in-camera color profiles like positive film, negative film, monotone, bleach bypass, and a few others. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't quite Fujifilm levels of variety here to pick from, but it still offers a really solid choice. My personal favorites were the positive and negative film modes, and I found that they're perfect if you want quick results with a film-like aesthetic. Okay, so let's now address the elephant in the room here. This thing and the Fujifilm X100VI are kind of like the Batman and the Superman of the compact APS-C camera world. They both have very different personalities, different powers, look great in spandex, and are equally as dangerous in the right hands. But after having reviewed both of these options and being a fan of both systems, which one do I think is the best? Well, the Fujifilm option is undeniably sexier and has better tactile controls and even has better video specs too. Because yes, one thing we haven't mentioned yet is that whilst the X100VI can capture impressive 6.2K footage up to 30 frames per second in 10-bit, this Ricoh seems to be stuck in the mid-2000s for some reason and only offers very basic 1080 HD up to 60 frames per second. So if you're a hybrid shooter, the Fuji is the clear winner. But this Ricoh is just way more practical. It's infinitely more discreet, much faster to deploy, easier to pocket, and adopts a strictly photography first mentality, which I am totally here for. This camera isn't trying to be the Swiss Army knife of all visual media. It's intended for one job, which it does very well. So, which is better? Well, that's kind of like asking me which one of Sydney Sweeney's boobies is the best. They're both amazing in their own right. One is prettier, the other is more practical, but both are a joy to handle. And I'm obviously talking about cameras again now, not tits, just for clarity. But that's not the whole story, because recently Ricoh announced the successor to this GR3, which is of course the originally named GR4. So with the latest model now on the market, you might be wondering, is this 3X and the original 3 suddenly completely obsolete? Well, in a word, no, and here's why. A, this is still a better camera than most APS-C compact options out there. Believe me, I've tested most of them. 2, it's actually available to buy, unlike the GR4, which is likely to remain on back order for the next decade. I mean, for clarity, that's just me speculating, but given the huge demand for APS-C sized compacts at the moment, I don't think that's an unreasonable prediction to make. Which leads me nicely onto point 67, which is, whilst the GR4 does offer some improvements in some areas, like having an improved screen, AF performance, and stabilization, it's still going to come at a premium in terms of cost. Meanwhile, this is almost certainly going to be much cheaper now, as it's not the latest model, if you're buying used like I did. I mean, unless of course you're one of the keyboard Einsteins that turns up every single week in the comment section below claiming that my little rinky-dink channel is able to single-handedly hike the global camera prices with just one video, you know, without actually ever providing any tangible evidence to back any of that up. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely adorable and kind of flattering in a way, but it's probably time those people grabbed their juice box and went for a nap and let the grown-ups handle the economics. Alright. Anyway, before this video went live and blew up the price of the used camera market, I managed to buy mine using Buyee for a little over 146,000 Japanese yen, which is approximately $963 US. Meanwhile, the GR4 is retailing for just under $1,500. Though, if you are considering buying this camera, here's just a small public service announcement. When you're buying, make sure you pay very close attention to what you're actually bidding on or paying for, because rather confusingly, Ricoh also released a camera called the Ricoh GR Digital 3, which looks incredibly similar to this thing, but is absolutely not the same camera. That is a much older release from 2009 that has a smaller 1/1.75 inch 10 megapixel CCD sensor, and I've seen a long list of Reddit threads where people have mistakenly bought that camera thinking that it was this one. probably the same people leaving the comments about camera prices. But anyway, the point is, if your gas problem will allow you to buy a camera that's not the latest and greatest, then this GR3X, in my opinion at least, is one of the most capable, pocketable, and powerful compacts you can currently buy.